heard it said before that Africa is the cradle of humankind. However, it was previously believed that only the eastern part of Africa could bear this title. But a surprising discovery of a collection of ancient stone tools in Algeria in 1992, and new archaeological evidence suggested early people's ancestors first arrived in North Africa about 600,000 years earlier than previously thought. The findings point to evidence of human life in Algeria, that is North Africa, 2.4 million years ago. Prof. Mohamed Sanauni at the National Research Center on Human Evolution in Spain, who led the research, said that the evidence from Algeria showed that the cradle of humankind was not restricted only to East Africa, but the entire African continent. On May 8, 1945, when thousands of Algerians came out to peacefully demonstrate their joy following the end of the Second World War and remind the French colonial regime of its promise to grant them independence, following their participation in the victory of the Allies in the Second World War, the French colonial regime, instead of responding favorably to the legitimate aspirations of the Algerian people, responded with a violent repression that caused the death of more than 4,000 to 5,000 Algerians. The massacres that took place in particular at Sétif, Guelma, and Karada galvanized the independent spirit and accelerated the emergence of a nationalist elite who were convinced that what had been taken by force could only be taken back by force. And after a wholesome 132 years of martyrdom and suffering, Algeria, ever hopeful and resilient, gained its independence. In more recent times, Algeria has been a force to be reckoned with in energy resources. Algeria has proven to have one of the world's largest reserves of natural gas, with a capacity of 2.3 trillion cubic meters as of 2020. Natural gas production stood at around 85 billion standard cubic meters in that same year, making Algeria the leading producer of natural gas in Africa, as well as the 10th leading producer in the world in that same year. As of February 2011, the Algerian government adopted a national development plan for renewable energies, aiming at diversifying the national energy mix and saving fossil resources. Welcome to ThinkRich Africa, the community which brings to you entrepreneurial, business, and personal development content to inform, motivate, and inspire you. We also want to introduce you to our special African development playlist because we strongly believe that entrepreneurship, rather than global pity, is the key to Africa's growth and development. So if you're African and you aren't subscribed to our community, you're missing out. Algeria announced the transition of its energy from hydrocarbons to renewable energy. This was a very ballsy move given that Algeria generates almost all its power from hydrocarbon resources. During the last decade, the market price of crude oil has fallen down drastically, and up to this date its price is still fluctuating. This has severely affected the national economy, and with the absence of significant oil discoveries, the government has been left with a stark choice to either push a bold renewable energy agenda or consume its oil and gas export revenues. And of course, the former option was the obvious choice, and hence the birth of the Algerian Renewable Energy Program. The Algeria Program on Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency established the ambitious goal of deriving 40% of electricity production from renewable energy sources, RES, by 2030. The project is divided into lots of 50 to 200 megawatts each. The goal is to attract independent power producers, IPPs, to develop renewable energy resources, the most abundant of which is solar. For these projects, Algeria welcomes foreign investment, and it has revised a number of regulations to encourage it, including allowing foreign entities to own a majority stake. Investors must, however, meet some local content requirements, including using equipment manufactured locally, largely solar panel and assembly structures. There are numerous factories producing solar panels in Bakarana Industrial Zone and the province of Ouaggla to meet the rising demand. The national plan aimed to add 22 gigawatts of renewables over the 2015-2030 period, with the first 4,500 megawatt commissioned by 2020. The bulk of this new capacity was to come from solar photovoltaic system, producing 13,575 megawatts, followed by wind power, producing 5,010 megawatts, concentrated solar power systems, producing 2,000 megawatts, biomass amounting to 1,000 megawatts, combined heat and power systems, producing 400 megawatts, and finally geothermal producing 15 megawatts. Algeria's renewable energy potential is enormous, mostly focused on solar, and in order for the above figures to be achieved, some 60 solar photovoltaic plants, concentrated solar power plants, and wind farms, as well as hybrid power plants were planned. Because of its location in the Sahara Desert, Algeria's solar potential is incredibly huge, estimated to be as high as 14 terawatt-hour per year. Algeria's Sonatrach and Eni, the Italian oil and gas company, jointly built a 10-megawatt solar plant in 2017. Sonatrach's 2030 vision calls for the installation of 1.3 gigawatts of solar generation capacity at the company's oil and gas sites, mainly to cover electricity needs on energy production sites. One of the world's first hybrid power stations was constructed at Hassi Armel. It combines a concentrated solar power array covering over 180,000 meters, in association with a gas turbine and steam cycle plant, using natural gas as well as solar-generated steam. The plant started electricity production in June 2011. Algeria also has over 13 hydropower plants, and these represent its third largest energy resource after natural gas and oil. Most of Algeria's hydropower plants are located in the northern parts of the country that benefit from high levels of rainfall, and therefore high water levels in the dams. Algeria has startling wind energy and geothermal potential as well. Its wind potential is forecast to be about 35 terawatts-hour per year. Algeria's first wind farm was built at Adrar, with an installed capacity of 10 megawatts, and with funding from the state utility Somgas. A series of thermal springs in north-central Algeria in locations such as Wassanis, Biban, and Kabylie are very potential sites for geothermal plants. Progress on the Algerian renewable energy program is slow in coming. Power targets set for 2020 were not met, and the program fell short of their target by very high percentages. Solar photovoltaic energy uses photovoltaic modules to convert energy from the sun into electricity. Solar photovoltaic energy contributes 2.8% of the total global energy. Hence, it has become the world's fastest-growing renewable energy technology and is the most expanded and competitive in the power generation market. With 22 solar generation stations installed in Algeria in 2020, only 400 megawatts of energy could be produced, and hence only a 13.33% achieved on their initial target of 3,000 megawatts. Hydropower is energy obtained from moving water. In most cases, it's falling water. Hydropower plays an important role in renewable energy and global energy production. The investment in large hydropower plants has been accompanied by an obvious increase in world energy consumption through an increase in demand over the last 10 years. Algeria has a total of 13 dams as earlier mentioned, with a capacity of 269 megawatts. But due to water shortages, the country started to cease all hydropower generation station operations in phases, while devoting efforts to dams for water and irrigation purposes. Wind energy generating systems use kinetic energy from the wind to turn turbines for power generation. Initially, there were 7 wind energy generation plants planned for complete construction in Algeria by 2021. However, only one plant has been developed and is operational. Wind energy generation dropped by 47.4% from 19 gigawatts-hour in 2017 to 10 gigawatts-hour in 2018. Although the wind generation target in the country is 3,000 megawatts by 2030, no news or information has been made available by the government or renewable energy companies as regards wind power projects in the near future. Geothermal is a technology that harnesses heat from beneath the Earth's surface. The estimated geothermal reserve could supply the entire world for around 217 million years. Algeria's Renewable Energy Development Center established a geothermal center in Ceuta for the research and development of geothermal power generation. The country has a geothermal generation target of only 15 megawatts by 2030. Currently, there are no planned projects in the search and development of geothermal power generation in the country. Biopower includes solid biomass, liquid biofuels, biogas, and landfill gas. Biopower has also been shown to produce high greenhouse gas emissions, but at levels less than fossil fuels. Algeria's Renewable Energy Development Center established a biopower research and development facility in the Old Fayette landfill. The target for biopower generation in the country is 1 gigawatts by 2030. Currently, there is no biopower generation in the country. The renewable energy project also aimed to improve the country's social, economic, and environmental development. The project has an immense potential for creating new jobs, agricultural improvements, municipal water supplies, and low-carbon development. For the education sector, the government announced the development of an executive decree on the establishment of an educational institution to train renewable energy and sustainable development professionals. Moreover, diversification of energy mix offers multiple benefits, including job creation and energy security, which is further promulgating the renewable energy market in the country. However, factors such as delay in governmental approval for the new projects, policy uncertainty, and lack of an efficient regulatory framework have hindered the growth of the market in the country. Solar energy is expected to be the largest market during the forecast period, with continuous growth in solar photovoltaic cell installations in the country in previous years. Algeria is very much vulnerable to climate change, considering the vast amounts of greenhouse gas emissions perpetrated by them in previous decades, and the fact that over 90% of their electrical energy comes from natural gas and crude oil. This therefore demands for decreased use of fossil fuel. Hence, the government is planning to increase the share of renewables in energy generation in coming years, creating ample opportunity for the market players. The Algeria renewable energy is moderately consolidated. Algeria really has come a long way, and still has a long way to go. What do you think? Will Algeria achieve its 22 gigawatts renewable energy plan by 2030? Share your thoughts in the comment section.